Let me go to the live. So, hi everyone. Welcome to the body system 4. And we are today starting with the endocrine system. We finished with the GI and you had already the quiz regarding that. We have done our kidney anatomy and embryology. And today we will be speaking about our endocrine system. So, the fact is that, like, for example, kidneys were 2, right, in our human body. However, we are having multiple endocrine organs in our human body. And one of them that it is really important, and we can say that that organ is controlling every other organ of the endocrine system, it is our hypophysis. Okay. So, what's that? And what's pituitary gland? So, pituitary gland, it's a pill-sized endocrine gland that it is located in the base of the brain. And sometimes it is always called as a master gland. And pituitary gland synthesize and release various kind of hormones that is used to control and to release other hormones. So the idea of that is that from the hypophysis we are releasing hormones, stimulating hormones. Pituitary is producing, releasing hormones, and then we're having the pituitary, working hormones. So if you see here, these are all the hormones that our gland is producing, and we will go through it by details and step by step after several slides. Clicking wrong stuff. And to see what pituitary is looking like, and this is our pituitary gland. And pituitary gland consists of the anterior and posterior parts. And the anterior pituitary is called adenohypophysis. And posterior pituitary gland, it is neurohypophysis. So, mostly, we are having substances like the stimulating hormones released from the anterior pituitary gland. However, and they are synthesized in here, and we will discuss it in a few minutes. However, we're having just two hormones that are synthesized in the hypothalamus, and then it is coming to the neurohypophysis, and these are vasopressin like ADH and oxytocin. So this is the idea of our pituitary gland. It has the anterior part and posterior part, and infundibulum, that's the stalk on which it is attached to our hypothalamus here. Okay? These are all located in the brain. These two anterior and posterior pituitary glands are developed, let's say, differently. They are entire pituitary gland, and let's go to the embryology slide. So, our pituitary gland is entirely derived from the ectodermal origin. And we are having two functional distinct structures that differ not just by function, but also by the anatomy, right? And we already discussed about adenohypophysis, and we already discussed about neurohypophysis, right? Posterior pituitary gland. So adenohypophysis is developed from the Radke's pouch, which is oral ectoderm. And in contrast, neurohypophysis, which the name already implies, it is derived from the infundibulum, and we can say that it is derived from the diencephalon also. So mostly neurohypophysis is downward extension of the neural ectoderm from the floor of the diencephalon. What another structure is derived from the diencephalon that takes part in the vision? Optic nerve. Yes, optic nerve is the part of the our diencephalon also. So thus, to summarize, like two things that it is crucially important. Our whole pituitary gland, it is like ectodermal. However, like anterior part was created from the adenohypophysis, like Rathke's pouch, and the neurohypophysis was derived from the neural ectoderm, like slash the floor of the diencephalon, right? Yeah. So to see how it is created, so we said that Rathke, it is the outpouching, like anterior part, it is outpouching of Rathke's pouch, so it is like extended and having the round shape, and after some time it will be rounded and it won't be connected at all. And infundibular part, as we said, it is created from the floor of the diencephalon, like the infundibulum, and it is coming downwards. They both, like Rathke's pouch and infundibular part, are colliding together, and final we're reaching the normal shape of adenohypophysis and neurohypophysis. And this one is adenohypophysis. In orange color, or like yellowish color, it is like the neurohypophysis. This is our infundibulum, and it is connected to the median eminence, right? By anatomically. So this we already discussed once again. So we know the embryology of our pituitary gland. So pituitary gland, when it is fully developed, it is like having the pea-sized, and it is around 0.5 grams. Mostly adenohypophysis constitutes 80% of the functional organ, because there we are having the cells that are creating most of the hormones, and by size adenohypophysis is a bit larger than the neurohypophysis. And both of them are releasing the hormones. Adenohypophysis is synthesized hormones itself, and neurohypophysis is just the room where we're having like hormones already synthesized get in. Yeah, so again, how the hormones are coming to the adenohypophysis and posterior pituitary, for example. I said, let's start with the posterior pituitary, neurohypophysis. The fact is that, as I mentioned, hypothalamus in the supraoptic and paraventricular nucleuses are producing the hormones. It is ADH and oxytocin, ADH slash vasopressin, it is the same. And we are having oxytocin, and they are creating the hormones there, and with the innervation, as you see here, it is coming to the neurohypophysis. And with the adenohypophysis, we're having blood supply, hypophyseal portal system. And whenever the hypothalamus is creating like the releasing hormones, then releasing hormones with the hypophyseal portal system is entering to the adenohypophysis. They are activating the special cells, and these cells are releasing the stimulating hormones like the TSH, FSH, LH, and etc. We will study that in the physiology. And these stimulating hormones are going to the organ, and they are stimulating for example, cortisol or T3 or T4. Like, they are official hormones that tissue is producing. You got the idea how it is located and what it is doing? Questions? Okay. Another thing that it is important to know that pituitary gland, it is enveloped by dura mater, and its exact location where it is located, it is called sella turcica of the sphenoid bone. Turcica in Latin means Turkey, so you can remember it sits in the Turkey. So sella turcica itself is this location here, like here, and it has a saddle shape, and it is a bit depressed inferiorly, anteriorly, and posterior aspects of the pituitary gland. Superior aspect of the pituitary is covered by diaphragma sella. It is a fold of our dura mater, and this dura mater is separating the TSF fluid filled with like subarachnoid space from the pituitary gland. Also, like as I've showed in the median eminence, like this infundibulum is exactly one which is located, which is piercing the diaphragm of the sella, and on which we are having our pituitary gland hanging. And it's exactly that that infundibulum is connecting our pituitary with the hypothalamus. So this is like a more, what I've talked about, this is a photo for that. So as you see here, this is our sella turcica location, right? Like this bone here is sella turcica, and in it, it's like, as you see here, as an onion, right? This is our pituitary, and anterior and posterior pituitary. And as I mentioned, like it is, well, by anteriorly and posteriorly, inferiorly, it is like compressed by the diaphragm sella, and this is exactly like, this part is exactly that. And we're having infundibulum, and this head of the onion is like our infundibulum here. Questions regarding this? No? So, more schematic view of it. So, sphenoid bone, sella turcica. This is our diaphragm sella, and you see how it is compressing anterior, posterior pituitary. This is our median eminence. There is located our hypothalamus, and with the hypothalamus, pituitary gland is connected with the infundibulum. Okay? So, lateral aspects of the pituitary are adjacent to the cavernous sinuses. From superior to inferior, cavernous sinuses contain cranial nerve 3, which is oculomotor, also 6, which is trochlear, and 4 is trochlear and 6 abducens. Also, trigeminal nerves, first branch, which is like ophthalmic, second branch, which is maxilla, and maxillary nerve. Also, internal carotid arteries course the cavernous sinus and medially to the nerves. Talking about the vasculature, and we already know that, I just jumped forwards, that we are having a hypophyseal portal system, which is important for us to transfer the hormones. So adenohypophyses receive the majority of the blood supply from the paired superior hypophyseal arteries, and they are arising from the internal carotid artery at the segment of the ophthalmic region. And neurohypophysis is supplied by the inferior hypophyseal arteries. However, these are inferior hypophyseal arteries does not take part into the hormone transmission. They just supply. And these artery branches are terminating into the meningohypophyseal trunk. And this trunk is arising from the internal carotid arteries. So this is exactly what we've talked about. So I mentioned that we're having like superior hypophyseal artery. This is this one here. And it is supplying the infundibulum and creating the sinuses, like the port and plus veins of superior hypophyseal veins are creating like the hypophyseal portal system, let's say. And that's how the neurons from the hypothalamus is connecting them, as you see here, and the releasing hormones are transmitted. However, we're having inferior hypophyseal artery that just supply neurohypophysis. It do have like venous drainage, but like the hormones from the hypophysis are straight ahead connected to the neurohypophysis and not to the arteries. Clear this part? Questions? No questions? Okay. Okay, so hypophyseal portal veins drain the primary capillary plexus formed by the superior hypophyseal arteries, and they deliver blood in the pars distalis, and I will explain what the pars distalis is. Pars distalis in turn creating another secondary capillary plexus. So if you see here, we are having like first capillary plexus, and then straight ahead like the veins are creating second capillary plexus, and the first part of the pituitary gland, like this part here, it is pars distalis. Okay. And the portal venous system allow like hypothalamic hormones, what I've said before, like releasing hormones to enter into the adenohypophysis. Yeah, just want to memorize adenohypophysis is having primary and secondary hypophyseal veins together, like tracts, right? Anastomosis. And neurohypophysis is having just one. Yeah. Okay, before starting the pathology of the pituitary gland, questions regarding that? No questions. So to cap what we've said, so these are our hormones that our adenohypophysis has released. And we're having growth hormone, prolactin, TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, follicular stimulating hormone, luteinizing stimulating hormone, adenocorticotropin stimulating hormone, and beta endorphins. Now, these are released from the adenohypophysis, right? And these are the cells that are located in the adenohypophysis. So, growth hormone is released from the somatotropes, prolactin from the lactotropes, thyroid stimulating hormones is from the thyrotropes, follicle and LH, FSH and LH, they are gonadal stimulating hormones and they are released from the gonadotropes. Then we are having ACTH, and it is cortisol stuff here, and it is released from the corticotropes, and beta endorphins, it is released also from the corticotropes. So what systemic overview you caught between the stimulating hormones and the cells? What? The names, guys, right? The names are saying like, okay, you just need to memorize like the somatotropes and like that are releasing growth hormones. However, lactotropes, prolactin, like kind of similar. Therotropes, thyroid stimulating. Like LH and FSH, they are working on the gonads. So this is released from the gonadotropes. Easy to memorize. ACTH and beta endorphins, they are having like one molecule that are creating these two. So that's why, and they are working on the adrenal gland, and they are the stimulating hormone for the cortisol, for example, and that's why it is corticotrope. The target organs are written here, and the effects. We will more in detail study this everything in the physiology. The fact is that we're having for the these are for the adenohypophysis, right? And these are all the stimulating hormones. However, the same names will be for the releasing hormones, and they are coming from the hypothalamus. So for the thyroid stimulating hormone, we need someone to stimulate that. And this will be like thyroid releasing hormone. Then about the neurohypophysis, as I mentioned, these are not created in the posterior pituitary gland. They are stimulated in the hypothalamus, in supraoptic and paraventricular nucleuses. And we are having oxytocin and vasopressin. It is same as ADH, antidiuretic hormone. And regarding the antidiuretic hormone, if you remember, we talked about the diabetes insipidus, right? Yeah, so now we will be explaining that diabetes insipidus stuff also in the physiology on topic in this case. So oxytocin is released from the supraoptic and paraventricular hypophysis, coming to the neurohypophysis, and through the neurohypophysis it is going to the uterus and mammillary gland, and it is causing the contractions of the uterus during the labor. And also, yes. And like we will discuss regarding the prolactin also. And also more things that whenever we're having the active phase of the labor, there we are doing the oxytocin to stimulate uterine contractions during the normal physiology labor also. And vasopressin, it is working on the kidneys and arterioles, and it is doing like water retention and increasing BP, blood pressure. So we will discuss that. Questions regarding these topics, guys? No? Okay. One. Okay, now it's working. So, talking about the pituitary tumors. So, in the adenohypophysis, we are having different types of cells, as we saw, right? And tumors in pituitary gland, it is really common, and it accounts around 50% of all primary brain tumors. So the fact is that like tumors can be divided in two categories, either the secretory tumors or non-secretory benign tumors. And vast majority of pituitary tumors of the adenohypophysis are non-secretory benign tumors. And this is really prone for us, right? Most of the pituitary tumors can be underdiagnosed or even not identified. And it is around 11 to 14% of the prevalence of all silent pituitary adenomas. Mostly that in the pituitary, yes, we're having the adenomas, and that's the most common tumor there. And mostly, as I mentioned already, we are having adenohypophyseal adenomas, and neurohypophyseal adenomas are really rare, and they include like mostly metastasis, like metastasis can go there, or we're having some granular cell tumors. So most common pituitary adenomas that you can see, it is our prolactinomas and growth hormone secreting tumor. So the name implies what they are secreting, right? Prolactinomas are secreting prolactin, as it is said. And they are most common secretory adenomas. They are really small microadenomas, we can say, and they are secreting prolactin. And the cells that adenoma is arising from, it is lactotropes, right? As we already saw on the first photo here. That prolactin is related from the lactotropes, right? Okay, so the cells from where we might have like the prolactin released, it is like lactotropes. Talking about the symptoms, how it will be, we should know what the prolactin is doing, and symptoms will be exactly when we're having excess amount of the prolactin. Talking about like the growth hormone secreting adenomas, this is like second most common adenomas in the pituitary gland. And after that, we are having like third one will be ACTH secreting tumors. Then comes like gonadotropin adenomas. Like gonadotropin adenomas are releasing LH and FSH, both of them. And thyrotrope tumors, like the ones who are releasing TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, it is like around 1% of the all pituitary adenomas. So as I mentioned, pituitary adenomas are mostly benign, right? We can also have like pituitary carcinomas, and they are really rare, and they require demonstrating of the metastasis to understand that it is like our pituitary carcinoma. Questions regarding these topics? Yeah, how you are getting that there might be an adenoma, for example. The pituitary gland is located in the brain. You are doing, first of all, the labs. For example, you are having like prolactinoma, right? You are doing the labs and checking other hormones regarding the symptoms. After, whenever you done with that, with the prolactin, it's easy. You can just right ahead check the prolactin level, and it will be really high, and no one is really thinking that, so you are straight ahead thinking about the pituitary gland, and you are thinking as it is adenoma, it will be like the pituitary gland will be bigger than it normally is, so you are asking for MRI, and you are seeing the pituitary gland is bigger than normal size. So just in every case, whenever we're having some kind of pituitary adenoma, we need to check our brain, right? MRI. Another thing that it is really important that it was not mentioned on the PPT, so next to the hypothalamus, like here, we're having optic chiasma. What's optic chiasma? It's body system first, neuroanatomy. Optic chiasma is a tract from where yeah, so the optic chiasma is located in front of our median eminence. So whenever, like in front of our pituitary gland, let's see another photo for that. Like it will be here. Like let's. So it is like we are watching it, like seeing this photo from the posterior side. So if you see the yellow stuff, it's our optic chiasma, and it is our pituitary gland here. Okay? So whenever we're having adenomas, meaning that we're having inside like bigger adenoma, like bigger pituitary gland, it can compress the optic chiasma, and we're having bitemporal hemianopias. So we can't see. We can't see fully, and that's our compression of the optic chiasma. Yeah. Another. Do you have any questions regarding this, guys? Also, as we know from Radke's pouch, and we can have another pathology, and it is like remnant of the Radke's pouch. So guys, let's continue. We are having the mic. Yes. These PPTs are on Drive. I have not done these PPTs. These are provided by the university. Physiology, like it's the same PPT. I'm adding there everything. From the first day, whatever you got the PPT, it's like there and there. Okay, guys, back to our lecture. So I've told you that, like in neurohypophysis, it is derived from the Radke's pouch, right? Yeah, sometimes we're having remnants of the Radke's pouch, and in some cases it gives us like the signs and symptoms, and this is associated with the mass effect. Sometimes it is just like remnant and it doesn't have any kind of symptom, so it is asymptomatic. In the Radke's pouch cleft, cysts can accumulate and provide like the proteinous fluid, and then expand and again decompress the optic chiasma. Also, Radke's pouch can also form another tumor, which is craniopharyngioma. And craniopharyngioma is a slow-growing benign tumor, and mostly it is in use around like neonate and like child's age tumor. Okay, on this topic we have done our hypophysis and pituitary gland. Do you have any questions? No? Okay. So another gland that we will talk today, it is like our adrenal glands, and we mentioned this gland much time during our kidneys, right? Because it is located above the kidneys. And we're having two suprarenal glands on both of sides, and they are associated with the superior pole of each kidney. And we are having a weak fascial septum, which are separating like the kidneys from the glands. And yes, they are not attached to each other at all. They are separated. They are two different organs. Okay. So suprarenal glands are more yellowish color. They are located between the superior medial aspect of the kidneys and the diaphragm. They are surrounded by connective tissue containing the perinephric fats. This is all the material from the kidneys anatomy, what I'm talking right now. And they are enclosed by the renal fascia, by which they are attached to the crurare of the diaphragm, and this is their major attachment. Okay, so they are movable, but like they are still attached. So this is our diaphragm here, and where we're having the crurare. These are like the crurares here and here, and they are attached if we are watching like it from below. So renal transportation. So mainly whenever we're having chronic renal failure, our one and only option, it is like one and preferred treatment, it is our renal transplantation. Kidneys can be removed from the donor without damaging the suprarenal glands because of the weak septum between them. And as I mentioned, renal fascia is dividing the kidneys from the gland. The site of the transplantating the kidneys is iliac fossa of the greater pelvis. So this site supports the transplanted kidney, so that we don't have the traction, and surgical anastomosis vessels can be done there really well. And as you're seeing on the bigger photo here, renal arteries and renal veins are joined to the external iliac artery and vein. And also the ureters are sutured into the urinary bladder. And as you see, we should normally have kidneys above, right? In the anatomic normal location. However, when we're transplanting, we are transplanting below. And once again, regarding the connection to the suprarenal gland is staying there. We are taking kidneys not to damage suprarenal gland, okay? So, this is what exactly we've talked about, like our suprarenal gland here. Yellow color located above, right? So it consists of two anatomic layers. I'm telling anatomic layers. It is cortex and medulla, because in histology you will study that it has 3 zones, okay? So anatomically it has 2 layers. It is like the cortex and medulla. And also it is covered with a capsule, and I guess here you can see with a darker color. Maybe I will switch off the lights and you will see better. So here, this is like in darker shape, we are having the capsule. Then in light yellow, it is like the cortex, and then we're having the medulla, right? So 2 anatomic location, and the capsule is over it. And we're having, as I mentioned, 2 of them. And the right gland, it is shaped pyramidal, as you see here. This one, and like the left one, it's more semilunar in shape. Which is located higher? Which is located higher? Left or right? You are correct. Thank you. No, size. Okay, now question. You had question. The mic. The shape difference. No one said that there is one bigger and one smaller. It is larger, but like functionally it is the same. It's not bigger, you know, in different sense. It's just a bit larger. Okay, this is how the kidneys are located. Here, as you see, and this is our adrenal glands. And let's talk about its associations. Their medial borders are around 4 to 5 centimeters apart, and they are associated with the structures of inferior vena cava, right crus of diaphragm, celiac ganglions like celiac trunk, superior mesentery artery, and left crus of the diaphragm. Can someone show me these structures on the pic? Because we've studied that in the GI anatomy. Okay, I will give you the laser. Okay.
Like this? Okay. Okay. So.
Yes. Yes, I will show and we will turn on the light.
What is that? What did I do?
Oh my god. Oh no.
What did I do? Okay, wait. What am I doing? What is this? Am I doing something? Okay, so this is this. So the red one is, wait. You can actually, the celiac trunk is not that visible, but superior mesenteric. Wait, yeah. So, can I get another picture? This is not good. No, yeah, like this. Like this is celiac trunk. Like this one, the large one. This is. Oh, sorry. Oh, ew, no. This is inferior vena cava, right? Celiac trunk has 2 main branches: the superior mesenteric and inferior mesenteric. The inferior mesenteric is 3 branches. Sorry. Um, the hepat- no, a superior mesenteric artery is a branch of the celiac trunk. Yes.
Give it to Yannick, man.
I'm not saying anything.
Um, we have the common hepatic to the left, to the right. My bad, to the right. To the left, we have to the nervous. Okay, okay. I forgot. I forgot.
Splenic.
Yeah, yeah. And no, the third one, the
No, they are branches of the abdominal aorta. Like superior mesenteric is for the mid gut, inferior mesenteric for like behind them.
what am I doing? I don't want it. Oh, I don't know anything about this.
We studied this semester too.
We study it every semester.
No, those no.
Okay, last semester. What's no. And this.
No, the aorta has three different branches. 'Cause I messed up
Yeah.
with the celiac trunk and the aorta. It's celiac trunk, superior mesenteric, and inferior
Yeah.
mesenteric. Inferior and superior mesenteric, but inferior mesenteric provides for the small intestine, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
mostly.
Ileoanal arteries.
What?
It provides ileoanal arteries.
Yeah.
Okay.
So celiac trunk provides for
Upper
like
GI
stomach,
tract. Yeah.
Because like gastric artery, the gastric
Gastric.
gastromental.
Yeah. Gastromental left and right.
Yeah. They okay. So the gastric artery is for the lesser curvature of the stomach.
Yes, but what about like mesenteric arteries? Because we are about the no GI. So we all got where our like the superior mesenteric artery is coming from, right? So naming these structures, whatever we're having there, let's once again, I will name inside of you then. Right? So we need to name, starting here, inferior vena cava, we know it's like this one here. Right cross of the diaphragm, like this is like diaphragm crosses here. We can't see it's really one. Well, the ganglion, celiac ganglion will be on this level, on the stomach level, like here, in front of the arteries. Celiac trunk is coming, it's not shown on this photo. This is like the celiac trunk. And ganglions will be located on that also. And then we need superior mesenteric artery. And which one is superior mesenteric artery here? Yes, correct. Like exactly like this one. Okay. Talking about like we know how it is connected to which organs, associated with which organs, right? So we said that we are having right suprarenal gland and left suprarenal gland. The difference between like one is pyramidal shape and other is crescent shaped, right? Pyramidal shaped right suprarenal gland is more apical. It is like connected to the cross of diaphragm anterolaterally, and also with the liver and with the inferior vena cava. The crescent-shaped one, it is like located more medially to the superior half of the kidney, and it is related to the spleen, stomach, pancreas, and left cross of the diaphragm. So, also, each gland has a hilum where we're having veins and lymphatic system entering and exiting. And like arteries and nerves are entering through the gland like in multiple sites. As you see here, we see how like the arteries are entering from all over the suprarenal gland, right? But exactly from the hilum, we're having lymphatics and the veins entering. Vice versa is with the kidneys. Everything is entering through the hilum in the kidneys. The idea of like our suprarenal gland, it is that it has different embryological origin, and this origin is really crucial for our nervous system because they kind of have same origin, and we will discuss how the impulses are going there. So suprarenal cortex is created from the mesoderm, and it secretes mostly corticosteroids and androgens. And the function of our cortex, it is to retain sodium and water, and also increase blood pressure, blood volume and blood pressure. Our suprarenal medulla, it is originated from the ectoderm, which is our neural crest cells, and it secretes catecholamines like epinephrine and norepinephrine, right? They are officially like ones who are coming from the nerves. So the function, it is to flight to fight response. What's that? So whenever you are seeing a dog, you are running from the dog, right? This is our flight to fight response, meaning that some organs, we are having the release of the adrenaline, and like GI tract is saying, okay, I need to stop working, and like for example, our heart is starting, our muscles are working more. So this is our flight or fight response. We are having increase in heart rate, blood pressure, dilate bronchioles, change the blood flow and patterns. So idea of our neural crest cells, so meaning the medulla is this. So we're having like our butterfly spinal cord, right? From thoracic 10 vertebra till lumbar 1, we are having presynaptic sympathetic nerve fibers coming out. Then we are having pre-aortic ganglion, and from the pre-aortic ganglion we are having like via periarterial plexus, we are delivering our catecholamines to the medulla. So these ones are synthesized in the nerve cells. Okay? Yeah, questions? No. Talking about like our suprarenal vasculature, and vessels, like blood vessels, are entering in any part of our adrenal gland, and they are highly vascularized as it is our endocrine structure. And arterial supply to the suprarenal gland is extensive, around 50 to 60 branches, penetrating the capsule, covering the entire surface of our suprarenal gland. And from where they are arising, right? These arteries. As the bilateral inferior phrenic arteries pass upwards from the abdominal aorta to the diaphragm, they give off multiple branches, and these branches are called superior suprarenal arteries, around 6 to 8 branches, and they are going to the suprarenal gland. We are having middle branch also, and the middle branch is named a middle suprarenal artery, and it is directly coming from the aorta next to the our superior mesenchymal artery. And inferior branch, it is called inferior suprarenal artery, and it is coming from the renal arteries and passing upwards to the suprarenal gland. So we are having three sides, three branches: superior, which is called suprarenal arteries; middle branch, which is called middle suprarenal artery; and then we're having inferior suprarenal artery. Which one is coming from straight ahead from aorta? This is middle suprarenal artery. Okay, this is the question, by the way. We can see it schematically here. So this is our aorta. This is our superior suprarenal arteries right here. This is our, which trunk? Can you remind me? Okay, this is mesenteric, yeah, and this is like next to the mesentery, above the renal arteries. We're having middle suprarenal artery, and from the renal arteries we're having inferior suprarenal artery. Okay? Do you have any question? Okay, are you sure? Okay. Do you want me to repeat this? Was it clear? Okay, venous drainage of the suprarenal glands occurring via large suprarenal veins. The short right suprarenal vein is draining into the inferior vena cava, and long left suprarenal vein is often joined with the inferior phrenic nerve vein, and it is emptying into the left renal vein, and finally it still goes to the inferior vena cava. So this one here then joins into our phrenic vein and then going to the inferior vena cava. Now talking about the innervation, from the celiac plexus and abdominopelvic splanchnic nerves, our suprarenal gland is innervated, and abdominopelvic nerves has greater, lesser, and least splanchnic nerves, and they are combined and they are giving us abdominopelvic innervation. Myelinated presynaptic sympathetic fibers are derived mostly from the inferomediolateral cell column from our spinal cord butterfly, or from the lateral horn of the gray matter of the spinal cord of the T10 till L1. And they both pass to the paravertebral and prevertebral ganglia without any kind of synapses, and they are distributed to the chromaffin cells of the suprarenal medulla. So now we know that in suprarenal medulla we are having chromaffin cells, and this is exactly this scheme what I explained to you, how they are getting like our catecholamines. Okay? So this is officially our homework for the next anatomy class. However, we are having some time, and let's start another topic. Let me see this. And do you want break? Okay, let's have a break for 5 minutes. And then we will explain just one topic more. So let's continue. So we've done official material. What will you study for the next class? It will be like our hypothalamus and pituitary and suprarenal glands. But as we're having some time, and as you're having tomorrow your pathology exam, like I will explain one more material and then you can go. However, the next lesson we will compensate that. So let's talk about our pineal gland, and it's called epiphysis, and it is located in the again roof of the encephalon. And from today's lecture, you already know three structures that is located in the roof of the encephalon, and it is our neurohypophysis, like it is derived from the encephalon, our pineal gland, and our optic nerve, right? Okay, so it weighs around 125 milligrams. It is covered with the pia mater, and to contrast with the hypophysis, it is covered with the dura mater, right? Pituitary gland is covered with the dura mater, and pineal gland is covered with the pia mater. It has connective tissue substance inside, and there we're having cells, of course, and they are arranged into the cores and follicles, and we are having two types of cells there. One, it is pinealocytes, and another is astrocytes. So to see the photo here, here we're having our hypothalamus, then we're having like median eminence. This is our like suprachiasmatic nucleus. Here we're having the chiasma going down, then infundibulum, pituitary gland, and like adeno and posterior pituitary, right? The median eminence, and this one is the optic chiasma. So when it becomes bigger and larger, it is like compressing that. So on the another side, another hello from the another world, will be our pineal gland, right? And it's more smaller than our adenohypophysis. It's not working like this. So I mentioned it has two cells, right? It has pinealocytes and it has astrocytes. So pinealocytes, it's more histology material, and however, let's go through it once again. It is basophilic, it stains slightly, and it has larger irregular nuclei, and it is long and it is branching. And astrocytes are staining more heavily. They are located between the cords. They are containing intermediate filament in the cytosol, and they are having cytoplasmic processes. So if you are seeing here, this is like the histology photo of our pineal gland, and like in the brain we're having normal glial cells, right? These are the normal glial cells, and these bigger ones with huge nucleus, if you catch it, it is pinealocytes, and this is blood cells. And here this is capillary, and this is our pinealocytes located here all. Okay? So I mentioned that like this is pineal gland, and this all around it, it is like pinealocytes. And if you remember, like I have not mentioned that, in pineal gland we're having sand. We are having sand there. Sand. Sand. Like the beach sand, you know? Sand. Sand. And let's discuss what kind of sand is that. So pineal gland is sensing and releasing our melatonin, right? So it is sensing if we are if it is evening or if it is morning, and it is happening with the material, like the organic material, like, and this organic material electrolytes, it's our sand. And here you are seeing this sand, and that's this one. Sorry. This is here, for example, this one, it is like staying more darkly than astrocytes or pinealocytes, okay? Okay, I've talked that we are having like melatonin release. So in the pineal gland, we are having unmyelinated nerve fibers that are penetrating our pineal gland, and they are secreting norepinephrine and serotonin. And regulation of the pineal gland is a secretion of the melatonin, and it is linked with our circadian activation of sympathetic nervous system. Melatonin release is released during the dark period at night, so it gives us a clue that it is night and we should sleep. And also melatonin is regulated on our circadian rhythm of different hormones, of course. And nowadays we're having like melatonin that it is like sold in the pharmacies, and this is almost like exactly same melatonin which is like in our pineal gland, and it is like used to regulate our circadian rhythm and our sleep cycle. Yes. Questions? No. Do you want me to continue with the thyroid gland or parathyroid gland? Okay. So, no, let's discuss the thyroid gland, and after that we'll finish. So, in our neck, we're having two most important hormones, hormone-producing cells and organs that are called thyroid gland and parathyroid gland. So in our viscera of the neck, we're having deep layers. We're having like endocrine layer, we're having respiratory layer, and alimentary layer, right? So we already discussed alimentary layer, and it was our pharynx and esophagus. And respiratory layer, it is our larynx and trachea. And we're having endocrine layer, and it is like what we're talking about today. It is our thyroid and parathyroid gland. So, in endocrine layer, we are having these two organs which are hormone secreting. And thyroid gland, it's our body's largest endocrine gland. And it produces the hormone called thyroid hormone. And mainly its function it is to control the metabolism, and also it releases the calcitonin, which is controlling the calcium metabolism with the PTH, with the parathyroid gland hormone. So we can combine that thyroid is controlling the metabolism, and on the other side the calcium metabolism with the PTH, with the parathyroid gland. Okay, thyroid gland, it is affecting mostly all body. It is spleen, testes, and uterus, right? Except these organs. Everything controls everything there. That's why whenever we're having arrhythmias or some like pathologies, we're always checking like the thyroid gland. Also, I already mentioned that we're having parathyroid gland, which is producing the PTH, parathyroid hormone, and it takes part in this metabolism controlling of phosphor and calcium of the blood. So whenever we're talking about the metabolism of the calcium, mostly we are talking first of all about the parathyroid gland, PTH, and then the thyroid gland calcitonin, okay? And regarding the metabolism, we are talking first about the thyroid gland, and after that we're talking about the parathyroid gland. Parathyroid gland's main target, it is like our skeleton, our kidneys, and intestines. So whatever we studied to our lectures regarding the intestine about the vitamin D and calcium absorption, we will use it here. In the physiology yet we have not done the kidneys, but we will do it and we will go to this point. And regarding the skeleton, we will talk in endocrine physiology. So, thyroid gland, right? It is located deep into the sternocleidomastoid bone. And there we're having sternothyroid and sternohyoid muscles. And they are located on C5 till T1 level, but mostly anterior side. It consists primarily of the right and left lobes, and they are connecting with each other with the isthmus. And isthmus mostly is located on the anterior to the second and third tracheal rings. We will see the photo of that in a minute. And thyroid gland is surrounded by the fibrous capsule. And this capsule is just not covering, but it is sending like its septus into the thyroid gland. So whenever you are cutting it in coronary sulcus, you will see like the tissue and also the septus from the fibrous capsule. Why it is needed, right? It is dense, like protection, of course, yes. It is like dense connective tissue and also attaches the cricoid cartilage with the thyroid gland and like superior tracheal rings also. So what we were talking is here. So this is our sternohyoid bones. It is like it is showed like we are pulling it up. However, it will be on this plane, like it should be here attached. But we are like showing you the thyroid. That's why they are up looking, okay? So these are our sternohyoid muscles. Then comes our thyroid cartilage. Then we measure sternothyroid muscle, which is here. And we're having cricoid cartilage below it. And on the cricoid cartilage, we are having our thyroid gland, and this is our right lobe and left lobe, and between of them we're having the isthmus. These are our inferior poles of our thyroid gland, and these are our superior poles of our thyroid gland, and they are located above our trachea and esophagus, right? To the vertebra to come anteriorly, we are having vertebra, then we are having esophagus, trachea, and our thyroid gland. Then the muscles and the skin, okay? Yeah, this is our layers, whatever I already told you. I will make it bigger. So we're having like C7 vertebra, then esophagus, then comes what? Trachea, and then our the trachea is here. What's that? Blood vessel. Then our trachea, and you see how our thyroid gland is located around our trachea, right? Okay. Blood vessel. Okay, talking about the arteries of the thyroid gland. So, thyroid gland is highly vascularized as other renal, as for example, as we already mentioned, suprarenal glands. Here, I want to show you. Okay. Yeah. So we are having superior and inferior thyroid arteries, right? And usually the branch of the external carotid arteries is giving us like superior thyroid arteries that are descending on the superior pole, and it will be here. So this is our thyroid, and this is our superior pole, and we see external carotid artery, which are giving us superior thyroid artery, and they are supplying our thyroid gland, right? And right subclavian artery, which is branch of brachiocephalic trunk, is branching and giving us thyrocervical tract, and this thyrocervical tract, it is giving us inferior thyroid artery. that it is supplying our like the lower poles, like inferior poles. And from our external carotid artery, we are having like branched a thyroid IMA artery, and this thyroid IMA artery is supplying our isthmus here. Yeah, this is exactly what I was talking about you. Superior thyroidal artery, inferior thyroidal artery, right? It is the posterior overview of our thyroid gland. And as you see here, we will continue with that also. We are having here two round substances, right? So this is our parathyroid gland, which is located on the posterior aspect of the thyroid gland. And we are having four of them. We can have the variations, but mostly in normal human anatomy, we are having four parathyroid glands, okay? And they are located on the back of the thyroid gland. Around 10% of people are having like thyroid IMA arteries. And thyroid IMA arteries were ones who are arising from the brachiocephalic trunk. And they are like supplying the isthmus of the thyroid. Also, they may arise from the arch of aorta, from the right common carotid, subclavian, and internal thoracic arteries. Okay. And once again, to see, this is our thyroid IMA artery here. Okay, let's talk about veins of the thyroid gland. We're having three pairs of the thyroid veins, and usually they form a thyroid plexus of the veins on the anterior surface of the thyroid gland and anterior to the trachea. Superior thyroid veins accompany the superior thyroid arteries, and they drain superior poles. Medial thyroid veins do not accompany any arteries, and they are just draining. They are having their essential course, and they are draining our inferior thyroid and medial lobes. And we're also having like inferior thyroid veins. They are independent and they are draining the inferior poles. Superior and medial thyroid veins drain into the jugular vein, and inferior thyroid veins drain into the brachiocephalic vein posterior to the manubrium. So this is our photo where it is all located. So you are seeing here, like this is our superior artery, thyroidal artery, and next to it, it is superior vein, right? Inferior thyroid vein is here, this one, and they are creating the anastomosis, right? Okay, talking about like the innervation of the thyroid gland. The nerves of the thyroid gland is derived from the superior, middle, and inferior sympathetic ganglia. Fibers are vasomotor and not secretomotor, because like for adrenal gland it was secretomotor, right? That it was giving us like the catecholamines. Here it is just like vasomotor. So vasomotor means that it can constrict the blood vessels. This is body system 3 physiology of the vessels. And thyroid gland is regulated by the pituitary gland, right? By the thyroid stimulating hormone. So thyroid, as I mentioned, has already 2 lobes, and they are united with the isthmus. Like, to summarize this all, it is originated from the primitive gut of the endoderm, and it is secreting 2 types of hormones. It is T3, triiodothyronine hormone, and T4, it is thyroxine. Function of these thyroid hormones are metabolic rate differentiation, growth, metabolism of carbohydrates, lipids, and the proteins. To understand like the anatomy, let's once again see it better. So this is our cricoid cartilage. This is like trachea. This is our thyroid gland. Superior poles, inferior poles, right, left. to between we're having isthmus. As you see, it has like honeybee appearance, right? Because like the capsule is penetrating there. And from the back, we see that it is some kind of round shaped. And we're having MDT need for parathyroid glands, right? People are having variations. We can have 3 or we can have 2 parathyroid glands. Yeah. Structure and function of the parenchyma of thyroid follicles. So inside we're having thyroid follicles. And they are like microscopic spheres. And they are having variable diameters. They are lined with a simple squamous epithelium or cuboidal or columnar epithelium. They are presenting us like the gelatinous colloid material. And they store the ones who are storing our T3 and T4. And also we're having inside thyroglobulins. And they are proteins of colloid, and they are linking with the hormone itself. This is like the histology, so I will miss that. And I will say one more thing about our C cells that it is important for us. So in the beginning, I mentioned that we are having like the C cells, right? That like it consists of the calcitonin. And C cells are parafollicular cells, which are also in the thyroid gland, and they are also located like clustered, and they are giving us calcitonin, and calcitonin is taking part in the calcium metabolism, mostly for the osteogenesis, and it is inhibiting osteoclasts. What's osteogenesis and what's osteoclasts? Okay, correct. Yeah, so that was correct. Regulation is physiology stuff, so you don't need these slides. Yeah, and so yes, this is my topic also. So in clinical pathology, like we can have lots of clinical diseases connected with the thyroid gland. But anatomically, the clinical pathology will be accessory thyroid glandular tissue. So, meaning that tissue of the thyroid gland can appear anywhere along the embryonic course of the thyroglossal duct, because it is created from the thyroglossal duct, right? So it can be in the thymus, inferior to the thyroid gland, or in the thorax. So somewhere this region, right? The accessory thyroid gland may develop in the neck, lateral to the thyroid cartilage also, and it usually lies on thyroid muscle. So symptoms of this patient with the accessory gland will be same as it is like producing our T3 and T4, but not located in the thyroid gland. Questions? No? Yeah. Okay, let's finish here. And on the next slide, for the next slide, you are having like the hypothalamus, pituitary gland, and hypophysis, and suprarenal gland. And if you will be able, you can do like pineal gland. It is just from the Moore book. It is just one mini paragraph, nothing more. In the histology book in Junkier, it is more information regarding the pineal gland than in the Moore book. And if you will have time, you can read about the thyroid gland also. If not, then we will still do on the next lesson our parathyroid gland, and it will be combined for the next lesson. Okay? Thank you.